Welcome to Survivor Babylon. I'm your host, Jen Probst. Previously on Survivor, Team Yahweh pitted themselves against the locals, Team Ishtar, in a food fight. While the Ishtars enjoyed lamb steak and rice pilaf,
This palace food is awesome!
I'm not sure what's in this, but hey, if the king tells me to eat it, I'm going to eat it.
the Yahwehs couldn't choke it down.
Being in Babylon, I feel like I'm losing my identity. I have to wear their clothes, speak their language, listen to their music. They even changed my name. And now they want this vegan to eat their greasy, slimy food. I don't think so.
It's not that I mind trying new foods, but it's a pretty sure bet the meat has been offered to idols. Eating it would offend our God. Half the stuff they serve us isn't even kosher. You'd think Kingdom would be a little more culturally sensitive. It's like, hey, if you're gonna take over half the world, get to know it, dude.
But when the time came to see who was the strongest,
I thought if I ate all my food, I'd feel stronger, but I only feel sick. Team Yahweh doesn't stand a chance against these big guns.
If they want a gun show, we'll give them a gun show.
the Yahwehs win hands down. But it's another big day in Babylon, and the castaways are anxious to discover what's on the table this time. But the bigger question is, who will be voted off today? Today's episode of Survivor is a little unusual because everyone plays.
Excuse me. I hate to interrupt, but the legal department failed to get the appropriate paperwork signed.
Who are you?
I'm the associate producer, and I was sent to make sure everyone initials the new addendums to their contract. It reads, the undersigned agrees not to hold Survivor Babylon responsible for any side effects or damages bodily or psychologically to themselves, up to and including trauma, maiming, loss of limbs, or loss of life, including the possibility of incineration in a fiery furnace. Just initial here. Thank you.
Okay, great. As I was saying, today's episode of Survivor is a little unusual because everyone plays. It's like a whole tribe, do or die competition. It's also a unique episode because the king of Babylon himself will be joining us and presenting the challenge of the day. By the way, the king fancies himself a hip-hop artist, a regal rapper, if you will. Between you and me, that's questionable. To introduce the rapper king, here is Carol the Herald. Carol, you may commence to heralding.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. I am thrilled to announce
the monarch of music, the emperor of the modern world as we know it. Give it up for King K-Job Nebuchadnezzar.
What's up, peeps? Here's the 411, y'all.
He's the king, that's why he's with the bling. It's a regal thing you wouldn't understand. What's new, AW, gonna break it down to you, so I'm laying down the law throughout the land. Holla back, holla back. All day, all day. We will obey. All day, all day. Don't diss him, yo. We will obey, all day, all day. We will obey whatever you say, all day. See a statue looking at you. Here's what you're gonna do when you hear the orchestra begin to play. Bow to it, just do it. If you don't, then you just blew it. In the furnace you will go until you say, hollow back, hollow back. All day, all day. We will obey all day, all day. Whoa, what's up? We will obey all day, all day. Oh, sizzle. We will obey whatever you say, all day, all day. Don't diss him, yo. We will obey all day, all day. We will obey all day, all day. We will obey whatever you say,
All day,
all day, all
whatever I say, all day.
whatever you say, all day, all day.
Who's the sing with the king?
Whatever you say,
Holla back, holla back,
Holla back.
holla back.
all back, all day.
Haha, now that's what I'm talking about. Let me hear you say, hey! Hey! Ho! Ho! How many survivors have we got in here? Yo! Excellent! Excellent! Hello, Carol. You look mighty fine tonight.
Take a chill pill, King Nebuchadnezzar. It ain't gonna happen.
Speaking of chillin', my furnace is cooling down. Furnace keepers, you've been sleeping on the job. Get it smoking or I will burn your big Babylonian booties off.
Survivor Babylon, Survivor Babylon, Survivor Babylon. If you don't bow, you're gonna get hurt. Survivor Babylon, Survivor Babylon, Survivor Babylon. If you don't bow, you're gonna get hurt.
I hear it's really hot around that furnace.
How hot is it?
It's so hot around that furnace that the bees take off their yellow jackets.
You gotta bow down. Everybody bow down. It's the clock. You're right, it is hot in that old furnace. How hot is it? It's so hot the chickens are like hard-boiled eggs. Bow down. You gotta bow down. Everybody bow down. It's the clock.
Hey, I was over by the furnace the other day, and you know how hot it was?
How hot was it?
It was as hot as parachute pants in the 80s.
Survivor Babylon, Survivor Babylon, Survivor Babylon. If you don't bow, you're gonna get burned. Survivor Babylon, Survivor Babylon, Survivor Babylon. If you don't bow, you're
nugget. We got candlelight, leftovers from last week's competition, and dynamite fire. What do you say we spark on some romance tonight?
You call that romantic candlelight? It looks like you're about to have a luau. And leftovers? Really? Half of these castaways got sick from it. And that fire is so hot. How hot is it? Siri is actually asking to be dropped in cold water.
Well, my Pinky Snumpkins, maybe we can burn on the dance floor tonight instead. But right now, I have to talk the truth to my peeps. Jen, you tell them, girl.
Okay, as I said, today's competition is a bit unique, but it's pretty simple. When you hear the music play, you get on your knees and worship King Neb's statue. If you do it, you will win immunity from tribal council tonight. If you don't, well, you're done. And I do mean, well done.
Well, that's certainly one way to be voted off the island.
And in this episode, our furnace keepers will act as the tribal council. Let's meet them, shall we? First, there's Pilot. Next to him is Bernie. Then there's Ashley. Next to Ashley is Cole. Then Dusty. And last but not least, Smokey.
So, what happens if everyone bows and wins?
Well, in that case, those furnace keepers won't be a very hot commodity around Babylon.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. If you don't worship the King as you must, flame you we will in the furnace of flame. And all of you folks will go up in smoke. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Trust us or not, it's blooming hot, and we can crank it higher. Mountains survive, or pay with your life.
Only you can prevent furnace fires.
Only you can prevent furnace fires. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. If you don't worship the King as you must, cling you we will in the furnace of flame. And all of you folks will go up in smoke. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Hee-haw, adios, au cheerio. Hee-haw, adios, au cheerio. Hee-haw, adios, au cheerio.
That little ditty was smoking.
Almost as smoking hot as that furnace over there. If they made it much hotter, King Nebuchadnezzar went into ice cubes for his waterbed. By the way, Apsu, that's a very nice jacket you have on there. What kind of jacket is that?
Why, it's a blazer, of course.
Speaking of blazing, who in their right mind would want to meet up with the business end of this death machine? Ooh. A dog would have to be barking mad, that's what. So we're all agreed. We're gonna bow, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, guys, what are we going to do? Our God said we should never bow to any image. But if we don't, we're toast. Literally.
How can we possibly worship any God but the Most High God? But what if we didn't worship it, but we just bowed down without meaning it?
I think this is a test of identity. We may have to speak the Babylonian language, wear the Babylonian clothes, and eat the Babylonian food, but we are still the people of Yahweh. We bow only to Him.
I am with you, dude. It's the principle of the thing.
But aren't you afraid of that fiery furnace? Don't you think God would understand if we bowed outwardly but not in our hearts? After all, we have to survive.
Survive Babylon, but at what cost? I'm not selling my soul to the king.
All I know is I don't want to die in that furnace. What about the rest of you? What do you think?
It appears that Team Ishtar is unified in their decision about bowing to King Nebuchadnezzar's statue. They unanimously agreed to stick together on this competition. The king will bring them to their knees when the music starts to play. Meanwhile, Team Yahweh is not in agreement, and alliances are being made.
Okay, guys, I have a burning question. Who thinks we should remain standing when the music plays and refuse to bow to the king's statue?
Who thinks we should bow and pretend to worship the statue and win the competition? And save ourselves from becoming human torches?
I do. Then we agree to an alliance.
Is it just me or are we the outcasts?
Cheer up, Shad. It's not what they think about us, but what God thinks that's most important.
I know, but we're a team. Shouldn't we stick together like brothers?
Yeah, bro, but there's nothing like the threat of death to separate the men from the boys.
I'm not saying tonight will be easy, but there are worse things than death. Besides, we're all going to die one day, and when I do, I want God to say to me, "Well done, good and faithful servant."
Hey dudes, we couldn't help but notice you've got a little trouble in your camp.
Nope, no trouble here.
Then why aren't you with the rest of your team? Yeah, you got a problem with the competition? And what exactly do you think of the king's new impressive golden statue, And his new spanking Bower burn law,
Not so much.
Run to the change your tune for the competition. Either that or find yourself some asbestos underwear. You three dudes must have got back in the belfry, that's what. That's so bloomin' insane! Deranged! Wacko!
You don't have the right to say that!
Psycho!
You be quiet!
Looney Tunes! Sleepy! Cuckoo!
Our God will deliver us from the furnace!
But even if he doesn't,
We will worship your golden statue!
It looks like hope is gone. I will not give up my song. One thing I will not forget. God has never failed me yet. God is good. God is good. God is great. God is great. He's on time. Never late. God will take care of me. God will take care of me. I know that I know. God will take care of me. God will take care of me. God will take care of me. I know that I know. God will take care of me. God will take care of me. When the fiery trials, I will still give God my praise. I may not know how or why, but God will show His power. God is good. God is great. He's on time. Never late. God will take care of me. God will take care of me. I know that I know. God will take care of me. God will take care of me. God will take care of me. I know that I know. God will take care of me. God will take care of me. God is good, God is great, He's on time, never late. God is good, God is great, He's on time, never late. God will take care of me. God will take care of me. I know that I know. God will take care of me. 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 I know that I know. God will take care of me. God will take care of me. God will take
Team Ishtar, Team Yahweh, it is time to gather for the idol bowing contest.
What's up, potatoes? Let me hear you say,
When you hear the music play, you get on your knees and worship King Neb's statue. Teams that do this will win immunity, and teams that don't will be exiled into the fiery furnace. Any questions? Then let the games begin, and may the odds be ever in your favor.
Hebrews Schmeebers. I'm gonna lose my cool. I'm gonna flip my lid. I'm gonna blow my stack because us three Hebrew kids. I had it up to here with your Jehovah stuff. I'm gonna call their bluff, 'cause that really burns me up. Burns me up. Burns me up. Three guys shy up here and minutes. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. That really burns me more than concerns me. That really burns me up.
Okay, chill. Hey, pilot, you got a light? I think it's time to fire up the grill.
Do you know who I am?
Why? Did you lose your ID?
Please, Carol. I am in no mood for clowning around. As for you, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, what about bow when the music plays? Don't you get?
Maybe they should have been idol worship for dummies. Perhaps Team Yahweh should be called Team No Way.
Silence! How hot is that furnace?
How hot is it? It's so hot. Your mom was
Enough! Enough! I am not down for clowning around!
Look, we respect your beliefs and all, but aren't you taking it too far? You do want to survive, don't you?
We do want to survive. Of course we do, but that's not all.
Because there's more to life than just surviving. Life is all about knowing and loving the one true God.
So whether we live or die, we'll be with God. What good is survival without God in your life?
Young men, I will give you one last chance to save your pitiful little lives. Yo, pump up the fan for your jams. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, you have sealed your own fate. Furnace keepers, crank the furnace up 7 times hotter. Guards, bind these castaways.
Hey, guys, remember that Song of David? The one he wrote when King Saul was trying to kill him and God protected him? I love you, O Lord, my strength.
The Lord is refuge, or the Lord is my fortress in whom I take refuge.
He is my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. I call to the Lord, who is worthy of praise, and I am saved from my enemies.
Smokey, is that fire smoking hot?
Yes, sir.
Then throw these shish kebabs in. Weren't there just 3 dudes? But I see a 4th. And he looks like the son of the gods. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Come out of that fire, yo.
Amazing! Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego survived the fire! Not a single hair on their head is singed! Even their clothes are fine! And there's not even a hint of smoke!
Yo, this was freaking me out. These peeps were totally laying down for their god. And he came through for his peeps.
And you don't see that every day.
Yo, I'm throwing this out. No peeps can be talking against my bros, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These dogs are my main men. And if anybody starts speaking against their God Yahweh, well, you won't be chilling in my kingdom because you will be sizzling in that furnace. There ain't no God in Babylon who is able to save like that.
The king has spoken. A shocking development has occurred here on the island. In defiance of King Neb's command, 3 Yahweh men bravely faced certain death by incineration. The king's furnace was blazing with extreme heat when...
Okay, Jen, we get the point. Everybody on your feet, stand up and praise the God of Shadrach, Meshach,
Just a minute! I hate to break up that happy party just before the big closing number, but according to Survivor rules, somebody has to get voted off this week.
Hey, little dog, I'm the king, and I make the rules, and I just ruled down.
Yeah, you're the king on this show, but in real life, the network makes the rules. And those rules say that somebody needs to get voted off at the end of every episode. In the case of infringement of rules, it is totally possible for all 3 of the rule breakers to be forced off Survivor Babylon.
But didn't you see how Team Yahweh was rescued by their God? We're talking a miracle, dog. There was some kind of...
I don't know who he was, but he is not in my flowcharts. Therefore, I don't answer him for this episode. And he most certainly does not have the authority to remake all the rules by which we run this show.
Okay. So, who is at the top of this organization, whatever that is?
At the top? Well, the producer.
And where is his office?
Well, her office is right up those stairs. But I'm not about to go bother her just...
Come on, we're going straight to the top.
No, this is a bad idea. No, I'm your boss and I command you to stop. Stop right now. This is a bad idea. I'll do it now.
Make my own decisions.
How did you even think of this idea? It's terrible.
Because I am the king.
Tell them, Shadrach. Tell them it's a bad idea.
And now, much against the associate producer's will, we are going into the producer's office.
Very good idea.
It is not. This is
Yes, it is.
Hang on. Quiet. Okay, people, calm down.
Yo, bro. I am the king, and I should have the say in here.
It seems that actors think they get to direct too.
How am I supposed to be an effective announcer when people keep changing the rules?
You know, this episode reminds me of somebody. He may have even made an appearance today.
You mean that dude in the furnace?
Possibly. This man reminds me of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He refused to bow to the political and religious leaders too, but his fiery furnace was death on a cross.
How horrible!
But he defeated death, not by walking out of a furnace, but out of a tomb. And do you know why he did that? Because he loves us. You see, the bad things we say and do separate us from God. It's like standing before the tribal council when we know we're about to be exiled from the island.
Yeah, I know how that feels.
But then God sent his only son Jesus to take the punishment for us. So the tribal council put their judgment on him instead of us. God sent this pardon as a gift so that we just have to put our faith in Jesus.
It seems like Jesus was in more of a saving business than a show business.
Actually, he does business in both. He saves and shows love by being our friend and protector.
Yeah, when I was in the furnace, I was very afraid, and I called on God, and then I felt comfort, and it was like he was right there with me.
He was, and Jesus wants to walk through life with us, through the good times and when life puts the heat on us.
Ma'am, I hate to interrupt this stimulating conversation, but we still haven't resolved the issue at hand.
About the rules?
Yes, the rules say...
You know, none of us follow the rules all the time. And if God can extend grace through Jesus when we break the rules, I think we can do the same. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I grant you immunity. As producer of Survival Babylon, you are saved. King Neb, shall we say the last line so we can do the closing number?
Everybody on your feet, stand up and praise the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Woo!
Celebrate him.
Well, that ends another exciting episode of Survivor Babylon. Next week, Team Ishtar and Team Yahweh face a new challenge presented by the king. But this time, the loser faces a den of lions for a night. Tune in next week for